Oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? I'm super excited here. This has been a huge project for myself, and I see you guys populating, getting in here. Really excited for the first episode of the Mountains Project live show. This will turn into the podcast, and I've got my good friend, Sahen Skinner. Him and I actually haven't been chatting that much, and I hit him up a few weeks ago, and I said, this is what I'm doing. Do you want to be the first guest? Because I know if my computer melts to the ground and this thing is an absolute failure, he's going to just roll with the punches for this episode. But I've been working pretty hard to get this thing going, so I think we should work it. It should work. I hope it does. So thanks for tuning in, guys. And then, a couple things I got going on. You can visit the links below here. We've got the crazy wildfires in Oregon and California have been super bad. Almost 1 million acres burned in Oregon. So I'm doing a fundraiser. 509's hooking up some gear. And all you need to do is go to the GoFundMe and you can drop $20 for a raffle ticket. And that gets you entered to win 509 altitude helmet, some goggles, and a 509 jacket. So trying to raise a couple $1,000 there. We might be at 1,000 now. So let's make that a couple thousand. And other thing also, if you're looking to get in the CBD game, you can head over to blisscbd.com, use promo code Roscoe for 15% off your order. I just got back working out heavy, so now I'm like using the muscle rub, drinking the CBD drink, trying to get back in shape for this winter. So it's going to be exciting. But without further ado, I'm going to bring Sahen in here. And guys, if you're listening and in the chat, if there's something absolutely haywire with the live video, let me know. But if there's just little tweaks here or there, please drop a comment in the video so I can address them later. Thanks guys for joining, and welcome Sahen Skinner. Yes. What's up, my guy?
How you doing, man? That was quite the intro there. I saw the wildfire thing. That's super cool. Maybe I need to buy a ticket. I don't know.
Maybe you do.
Or make a donation or something. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. It's good to help outside the industry and stuff, and fully supportive of all that kind of stuff. And very cool. Don't mind my girlfriend's decoration. She's all about that.
Does that say gather?
Like every 3 weeks.
Does that say gather?
I'm at my dinner table right now. She was stoked that I took the house.
Well, we're gathering here for this video, so we're excited.
Gathered.
Yeah, gathered. So it's always good to chat with you. You and I go back pretty deep, especially in my career. We worked together a handful of years at BBA. That now you're running SS Free Ride, and we're going to certainly talk about that. And what I'm excited for is this year I want to come see you. So I want to learn about your program and what you got going on, and the good times that Sahen Skinner provides. I'm looking forward to doing that. So everybody hopefully knows what you got going on and follows you pretty closely, but kind of break it down about what you're doing right now.
So long story short, I'm still doing some stuff very similar to what I did with Chris. A lot of people remember me from those days. But a lot has changed, definitely. I left there almost, I think, 6 years ago. It's crazy. This will be my 5th season doing all my own stuff. So we're located in Afton, Wyoming, my hometown. Yep. And taking people out, man, showing them the ropes, building sleds, taking people out, having fun, teaching them stuff, getting them stuck, making fun of each other, all the above, just trying to keep the sport in the right direction and promote it in a positive way.
Good. That's a good deal. And you have lodging and everything now. Do you have sled rentals as well?
Yeah. We got lodging at Kodiak Mountain Resort. Super nice place. I think they have I honestly don't even know. I should know how many cabins they have. They have 16 or something. Yeah. Super nice cabins. They have a brand new lodge there, not just opened last year, with breakfast and everything. So that's where all of our guys stay. We're partnered with Polaris. We've been with them since day one. So we have all their sleds, all 850s. Now we have some Chaoses in the fleet, some RMKs. We also rent those outside of days when we're not using them. But we're pretty stacked, man. We stay pretty busy, and it's been great, man. It's just meeting new people and promoting the sport.
Good deal. I'm excited to come see it. And some of my fondest memories of the early days of BBA were definitely running around with you and Rhino. It was just it was chaotic. And I mean, I'll be honest, there was after that, there was never that energy again of like the madness that we kind of had going on there. It was maybe a little bit now, like when Kyle and I would run together, but man, the energy was pretty crazy, and we had a ton of fun just, doing whatever it takes and long hours. And that probably certainly hasn't changed with you, the long hours and extensive amount of work to get it going.
Definitely still the very long hours, and we still have a ton of fun. I'm definitely a little bit more business oriented now, because it's my own money that I lose, and we got a lot invested in stuff, but we really, really try hard not to forget of why we're doing it in the first place and what pushed us in this direction and how do we want to, promote this in a positive way and things like that. And you still get the end of the day and things like that. So it is cool. Like you said, the energy doesn't really change. I guess I'm me. I can't really change that. And I've always been 100 miles an hour, and that's how it's always going to be. And dude, the tours are just a riot, man. And I still feel like I'm the luckiest student in the world. I get to go out and hang out with these cool new people from all over. It's pretty rad. Yeah,
it is certainly a very rewarding job. You get to essentially show guys a lot of times the best day they've ever had on a snowmobile. And that's your day to day, which is super fun. And you and I can both kind of relate to that. But, talking about the hours worked and remembering why it's fun, right? Like, because sometimes when it's like, that face right there is all I needed. Yeah.
A few, I don't call them sponsors anymore because I really try to give back as much as I can. So I call them partnerships. Yeah. But a few of our partners over the last few years are like, man, we cannot get a hold of you. And I'm like, yeah, man, like I'm on the hill for 6-8 hours a day. We usually work 12 to 14 hours a day. And I'm not going to, most of our guys are back east or Middle East and stuff like that, other than ZRP. Yep. And I'm not going to hit you up at 9 o'clock my time. I'm like, hey, dude, what's up? How you doing? Like, it just doesn't work that way. So it's long hours. You have to love snowmobiling. You can't like it. That's for sure. Yeah. And it's a love relationship. You just got to keep pouring love into it, But it's fun. Sure. And I think you and I probably get a lot of the same questions regarding like, how do I get into the industry? And we can chat about that a little bit if you want to. I know it's a question that I get a lot. Guys are just always interested, and we probably have some of the same answers, but what's funny is I was at 509 recently at the headquarters there. And then I was actually just at ZRP at Zollinger, and dude, you were right next to me. You didn't even come by?
I know. I had to get back here. I'm sorry.
We all got lives to live, man. It's all good.
I was like, dude, I'm so close to so much good stuff right now, and I had to go home.
This is like the mecca of mountain riding right here. Everyone is like within 2 hours of my house. Yeah. No, I'm sorry.
It's so damn true. I mean, you're in the spot. But there's a handful. I won't. All right, edit that. There's a handful of people at both of these companies that got into working at these companies because they love the industry, and now they're like getting to design cool outerwear, or they get to design cool parts for ZRP, or they're a machinist, or all this stuff. So there's lots of ways to do it besides just like being a quote unquote athlete or a guide.
For sure. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that people think of industry as like us, as riders or as pros or whatever you want to call us. I don't know the terminology that people use. You know what I mean? I just do it because I love it. As soon as I stop having fun, I'll quit. But I keep having fun. So I don't know. But I get the same question a lot too, man. And I get to the point where I'm like, you just do whatever it takes. You go to, and when I was doing it, Facebook wasn't really around. None of this stuff was around. Instagram wasn't around. So I went and applied myself, and I went to shows because that's where I met industry people and other riders and cinematographers and all these kind of people. So that's what I had to do to get into it, 13 years ago.
Right.
but you don't really have to take those steps now. So it's kind of different. So I tell these guys, I'm like, whatever it takes, man. It's how important is it really to you if you really want to be a part of it?
Yeah. Yeah. You got to do something, right? You got to be different, or like you either got to be different or better, like way better at this point.
Yeah.
And
yeah, exactly.
You either got to be different or you better be flipping 40 feet off the ground like Kosturki. So
yeah, you either got to bring something new to the table, like Caleb has, which has been super, super cool to see. I remember those days when I was younger and I was just hucking myself off everything and I didn't really care, but I definitely was not doing anything nearly what he is.
Right.
But it is cool to see a guy pushing it that way and giving it everything he's got, and the physical aspect, the eating aspect. I mean, if you wanna make it in industry, model after something like that, especially these days, because Caleb understands that he has to apply himself, not just today and tomorrow, but every single day. And that's with his whole regiment, with his work, saving money, snowmobiles, food, everything, and he's completely applied himself in every way he can, and it shows. And I think that's what it's going to take.
Yeah. I mean, you hit it out of the park with exactly what he's done, and what he's a good guy to model after, because he's right in the thick of, he's on the gas big time right now. And I was standing next to him at the 509 event, and I'm like, dude, he is on it. He is huge, just strong and just so focused on it, which is so cool. And
he rides little sleds.
Yeah. So
I'm like, dude, you're a bull moose, bro. You need to be on a bigger sled, man.
Yeah. He's like, I'll take a 46 so I can flip it. Call me later.
Yeah, man. It's cool though. So I think another really important thing too with anything, we're talking snowmobiling obviously, but what is snowmobiling to you? Is it mountain riding? Is it ice oval? Is it snowcross? What is it to you? And it's not just what we do, So I think that's what's so cool about it, is there's so many different aspects. And, a lot of people see the mountain riding, which is rad, but it's less than 10% of the market. So there's a lot of other people out doing other things, and that's super cool too. So what is snowmobiling to you, and how do you want to make it better if you want it to be a big part of your life, or if you want it to be your life,
right. Exactly.
It's pretty cool.
So YouTube guys, we're going to, if you want to drop some questions, I can pull some questions for Sahen and I. If you have something specific you want to ask us, moving forward here, we're going to keep the ball rolling.
I already know some of these questions. I already know they're going to be.
I know who they are too. They're like, oh, we're going to get you guys.
It's okay.
It's okay. We love them all.
I'm a pretty honest guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some people don't like that.
Some people don't like that, but I think you know what I love? I love the authenticity of someone like you. You're just so authentic, and we were talking before we started, you're very comfortable in your own skin, which is so great. And I think people gravitate towards that. And I think that's probably why you have a lot of success on the mountain with guys, is you're just so personable, and that Sahen Skinner pretty quickly, because you just know who you are.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I just really try hard to think of what I would want in a guide, if I'm going fishing, if I'm going hunting, or whatever it is, what I like to interact with someone, and how do I apply that to my business and to my stuff and to my guys. So it's cool, and I think I have my off days too, like anyone else. I think I'm an introvert and an extrovert. Some days I'm all about talking, and other days I don't want to do it so much, but I still make it happen.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. There's definitely times where I don't want to have to, be the guy, or just be the face, but then you have to go back and remember why you're doing it and everything. And then you're like, oh, this is pretty sweet. You can all put it all into perspective. So.
Yeah, for sure. And especially guiding and owning a business and running all that. As soon as you start involving money with it, and you have to do it, and you have to make money, and you have to pay for the shop and things like that, you got to really take a step back and be like, okay, why did I start this in the first place?
Yeah.
What did I want to do? What do I want to accomplish? And I think that's super, super important.
For sure.
Versus, the number one question is, how do I get sponsors? I'm like, if you want to do it just to get sponsors, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. How do you get a better job? Get a second, third, fourth job. Then that's the move.
Get all the jobs that you can, and then that's a good start.
Yeah, exactly. How about sleds this year? Actually, I want to talk about that truck I keep seeing that I know you've had forever. That old Chevy, because everybody loves, or the GMC.
Yeah.
What is it, dude?
I think
It's so cool.
I think it's a lot of love, man. It's a 79. I've had it forever. I bought it when I was 19, I think, 18 or 19. So I'm 31 now, which is crazy. I think I'm in my 30s, which is a little bit scary. Yep. 31 going on about 15 some days.
Yep.
Just ask Ashley, she'll tell you.
Yeah.
But the truck's cool, man. It's just one of those things outside of riding that I always really liked. My dad's always been into automobiles and trucks and things like that. And I always kind of levitated towards that. And I never thought it would be to what it is today. But it, just like anything else, man, like a snowmobiling career or whatever, you know, you get into it what you get out of it what you put into it. So
yeah,
just way too much money and an obsession.
Yeah.
So it's cool. Yeah, man, it's fun.
Yeah, it always looks cool, and whenever I see photos of it, I'm like, God, that thing's so cool. I wish I had something like that. And I know I've already sold a truck or two that I'm gonna wish I never had. I already wish I wouldn't have sold one. You know,
yeah.
But it's a cool thing, and I think it's something that a lot of us in similar industries connect upon. You know, like building a cool truck like that, or you know, people building mod sleds. That's something that we can all kind of relate to. The mod fever that so many people have, and we kind of do as well.
Dude, it's crazy. Like the mod thing, even with wraps or with gear or anything these days, there's so many options. Like it's a bit overwhelming, honestly. Even for me, I know what I want for the most part with a lot of stuff, you know, and I get tons and tons of like DMs on Instagram and Facebook and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, texts and emails and like, what should I do with this? What should I do with this? Or I got $1,500 or whatever. And I'm like, there's so many cool things that you can do, you know, and what are you going to do with the sled? What type of riding do you want to do? What elevation do you ride? There's so many variables in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What clutching are you running? Well, I ride, 8 to 10,000 feet. You ride 3 to 5,000 feet. So it's not even going to be relative. So it's like, there's so many things in the mod world, you know, but I think that's why it's so cool too, because it's so specific.
Yeah, and it's like you're exactly right. There's so many things you can do, and to pick what to do first and how to do it, there's no order. It's all preference. It all depends on what you want to get out of the sled and all sorts of things like that. So, I mean, that's a conversation that happens a lot. You know, we have from like rider to rider, and you have with your guests, and you know, I have with people that ask me all the time. So, what's your favorite piece right now? If you're just gonna put one thing on, what would it be? See,
of course.
Yeah, you're like, oh, shoot, I want 6 things because I always want like 7 things on that sled.
Like one piece or like one setup?
Like what? What? Let's do one setup. What's your your quick one build? Because people love it.
It's really tough. So like horsepower is obviously always fun, but you can have 10,000 horsepower, but if you can't keep it in the right direction, it doesn't really matter. So for me personally, if there was one thing I really had to spend money on, I think it would still be suspension. I think that's probably the most overlooked thing that is out there still today.
Yeah.
It's pretty, about 6s with a lot of turbos and whatever, twin pipes and heads and all that kind of stuff out there these days. And all that stuff's cool and it all has its purpose, and the lightweight parts have their purpose. But I still think handling, is probably my go-to. Polaris continues to build a better and better and better sled and chassis, but I still think that's what I'm chasing, is handling.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. So, that's the first thing I tell people, especially if you're gonna invest and put some real money into it, that's the move I think suspension.
Yep.
Especially if,
and you know what's crazy? I'm sorry. What did you say?
You go. Yeah, you go.
You know what's crazy to me is everyone buys the front shocks.
Yeah.
And they need to buy the rear. So if you're listening to this, and if you really want, some advice, this is my advice. A lot of the ski shocks guys are pretty good. Even the stock valve, like Walker Evans, ones say like a Base Pro or whatever. That's not where I'm going to put my money. I'm going to put my money in the front track and the rear track shock. That's where I'm going. So just so if you're wondering, if you got whatever $1,000 or $1,500 you want to put into your sled, that's what I would do with it. So, so to speak. But if everyone goes with the ski shocks. And I think it's because you can see them and they look cool, and we all like that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm the same way.
Yep.
But if you want to kick your buddy's butt, dude, track shocks all day long.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Spray paint them. I don't care. Make them look the same as the other ones.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's it. We want to see the bling. Like they're a cool piece, and you want to see them, and you can't see them tucked up under the track, but they're working, and you can feel it.
Oh, dude. I mean, as much as we all want to be backcountry guys, and we all want to do this, and we all want to do that, every one of us rides a little bit of trail, usually to get to where we're going.
Yeah.
Or here and there. And usually the roughest trails have the best riding, even though we have a phenomenal grooming program here where I live. Still some of the rougher spots to go up have some of the coolest riding, but I'm grateful for that because, you know, a lot of people don't want to ride rough trails. But if you have the tricked out suspension, the trail all of a sudden becomes part of the ride because now it's fun.
Yep. It becomes a race.
So,
we know.
Yeah, exactly.
We remember we had some races.
Dude, I've broken so many things on the trail.
Yeah.
Like you don't even know. Like it's bad. I've totaled sleds, bent tunnels, racing in the dark, no headlights on icy roads. Like I've done more things on the trail than I would like to admit and wreck stuff.
Yeah.
Knocked out on the trail. Like laying cold.
Yeah. Yeah,
I really try to be responsible now with the business and things like that. But oh my gosh,
it's not great when the lead guide goes OTB on the trail with like 10 guys behind him. They start to question if you're up for the task of guiding them.
They're like, "Is this the right guy? Did we show up at the right place?"
Yeah,
yeah. It's my outlook on riding. I would not say as a whole, but as a lot of it has definitely changed once you become responsible for those people and things like that, which you can relate because you've done a lot of guiding. Yep. You can still go out and go have a lot of fun, but you're not going 100% usually. You're going 80 or 85.
For sure.
I mean, very rarely you're going 100 because if you are going 100 and you do bend something or break something or whatever, that just, changed your whole day.
Yeah.
It's, we're not really there for that. So we go say B+ or A- all day and we try and ride hard and have fun. But the number one goal is to get back to the truck in one piece so we can go do it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
things
do change a little bit.
They do. You got to be there for the guides, and I certainly learned that more when I became kind of a lead guide at BBA. It's just like, you're responsible. You answer to those guys, and then if you screw up, then especially when you're not the boss but you're a lead guide, then they're like, I had a bad day to the boss, and the boss is like, what'd you do? And I'm like, nothing. I did my best, my absolute best. I have no idea what to tell you. We had a sick day.
Honestly, man, that's all anyone could ever ask. You got two hands just like the rest of us, and you do your best. And in my riders meeting, I tell my guys, I'm not a mind reader as much as Ashley wishes I was. I am not. So if there's something specifically that you want to do, you got to tell me. You know what I mean? So it's tough, man. It's a fun job, but you definitely there's a lot of interaction stuff for sure. Sometimes they're just like, dude, I want to keep going. I'm like, bro, your face is as wide as this sign.
Yeah.
Like
you're done.
You can't even see.
Yeah.
You need to drink a liter of water and just hang out for a minute. Like I mean, we all want to get the most out of the day, but health's always number one.
For sure. Yeah, it is hard because those guys, you spend all that money to come ride at your facility and at an amazing location. You don't want to go home, but you need to go home because you're gassed. Like you just run out of gas so quick, especially when you're not used to it.
In Colorado, it would kick my butt too, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
We got a question from Randy in the chat. What's your favorite product / piece of gear to help develop and provide feedback with your partnerships? Is there something that you like, a certain piece you like working on the most, or,
I think that the piece that we probably focus on, like say between myself and 509, I think probably the two, but I'll try and pick one.
Yeah, there you go.
The one thing that we really focus on a lot is boots.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing that's continually in the snow. That is the biggest surface area that's touching the snowmobile. You know what I mean? We have a lot of input through the boots, from the sled and from us down to the sled. So for me personally, I think that's super important to find a good boot that you like. Maybe not necessarily for me or anyone else, because like I said, what are you doing with it? you're going to pick a little bit different boot to go ride in Michigan than you are in Wyoming or whatever. So for me, I think that's super important is boots. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's all important, but for me, I think that's probably number one.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Boots are something that is it's such a tricky thing because you might want something different than I want. And like to satisfy everybody, there'd have to be like 20 different boots by each clothing company, you know? So it's really hard to find the right boot that does all the things. It's a tricky one. I'd say that and gloves. Gloves are also tricky.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
everyone wants these paper thin gloves, but they want them to be like weatherproof to -40 and waterproof and windproof and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but you still want to be able to feel and be able to grab the brake, but you want your hands to get cold. So like, there's so many variables, just like mod sleds when it comes to snowmobile gear, because like you go buy moto gear and you're like, cool, it's vented, bro. This stuff fits good. I like it.
Yeah.
But you go buy snowmobile gear and do I buy a onesie? Do I buy a two-piece? Do I buy insulate? Do I not buy insulate? I mean, there's so many options.
Yeah. So many.
Once again, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah. And then, I live in the Midwest and I'm actually going to go ride in the West and I have insulated gear. Now I sweat to death because I'm fully insulated when I need a shell and yeah.
Number one, these goggles suck. I'm like, whoa. No, it's because we're sweating. This is the biggest hole on the helmet. Heat rises, it's going to come out of here. And it's so, dude, like I said, there's so many variables. Find the stuff that works for you. But if you're going to do both, work a couple extra shifts and buy both sets of gear. I mean, I don't have one set of gear, but this is, our number one thing. So I try and make sure I hate not being prepared. So I like to try and have all these different things.
For sure.
Some days I maybe have insulated gear. Not really, but I just layer underneath the shell. But we also don't ride in, -30 with a bunch of humidity. So it just depends.
Totally. And with a shell, you can layer and do all that stuff. Yeah. But the goggle thing is hilarious. I mean, somebody show me a pair of goggles that don't fog. I mean, what's funny is when I have clear vision and you're yelling at me, but we're wearing the same goggle. What's going on there? Like,
I don't get it.
It's a management thing.
So I got my first pair of Ignites last year.
Yep.
And I'm like, sick. I'll probably use these a couple times because there's a few days, especially when you're riding 5-6 days a week, you will get a couple weird days out here where like you're almost getting like this icy weird layer on your goggles, but you can kind of scrape it off, but you kind of can't. And it's just weird. And I ran into this guy that we have a couple warming huts out here. And this dude was probably not having the best day. He was really struggling with goggles. It's snowing sideways, dude. Upside down rain, full on Forrest Gump. I mean, like the blizzard of the century. I have these brand new, like $200 freaking Ignites in my backpack, and I'm like, I just give them to him. I'm like, dude, this is painful for me, but you need these a lot more than I do.
Yeah.
So I haven't been down the luxury goggle thing yet, but
well,
yeah.
I rode.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm sorry.
I can stand behind those Ignites for sure. I had in Sweden, it was so cold, I thought I was gonna die. Like it was freezing, and it was like you're saying, like that ice. And the only thing that would work were those Ignites, which is cool. And now they have the Aviator 2.0s with like the full on lens, like magnet lens that doesn't use wires. It's gonna be pretty crazy. I'm excited to get my hands on those. Yeah.
Dude, you know what's crazy is I never thought I would be like the old guy almost with some of this stuff. And I see the like magnetic lenses and stuff, and I'm like very drawn to them. Yeah. But I like the X6s so much. I'm over here like I'm almost the carburetor guy that doesn't want to switch to EFI.
Yeah.
Because I really like the X6s because I've had so many good solid days with them. But I'll definitely, try them out. But I don't know. So I'm a little bit torn on some of that kind of stuff. But goggle etiquette too, so.
For sure.
But if you're one of those guys that sweats a lot or something like that, Clay, if you're watching one of my buddies, yeah, it's you. The Ignite series would be great for you guys.
Yeah, it is. It's worth the money for sure if you manage them and take care of them. They're a good investment. So, let's see.
Especially if you're traveling 1,000 miles to come ride, dude.
Oh yeah.
If you're having goggle issues and you're 1,000 miles away from home, you're like, I spent so much money to be here and I didn't get this upgrade. And this is, it's not for everyone, but for the guys that sweat a lot, it's a good investment, like you said.
Yeah.
You don't let another $50 ruin your day.
For sure. For sure.
Yep.
Here's a question. This is from my boy Aiden. Aiden, I got to give a shout out to this kid. I could go live at any time, and he's in it like that. Like he's like, "What's up? I'm here." So he's got a question, and Aiden's a younger kid. He's on a budget, saving money to get a sled, and he only had let's say under $4,000. What could you find or build that is going like I'm trying to think. Here's the tricky part probably for Sahen and I is we don't really know that market that well. Like I don't know what you can get for $4,000, but maybe you could get this sled for $4,000. I know some of the older pros you could get for $5,000. So
that's probably about where I'd go. I think your pro market is going to be about the best. I would definitely look for like a 13 because that's when the belt drive came out, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's not going to work!" And now everyone's running belt drives. Weird.
Yeah.
But if I was, you said Aiden, right?
Yeah.
Aiden.
Yep.
If I was Aiden and I had a little bit of money to spend, and I've been saving up or whatever, that's probably my target go-to. That would be my number one choice. It's probably like a 13-ish pro. There's a lot of them around. I wouldn't say the market's flooded with them, but there's a lot of them around. Even if it's got a few miles on it, he's probably not going to ride it quite as hard as we do.
Yep.
So it's going to be okay for a little while. They're easy to rebuild, and stuff like that. And it's a really good starter sled. I mean, dude, I started out riding a fridge, so
100,
with skis,
120 volt fridge. Yeah.
So I think that as a starting point is a really, really good thing. And I think part of that when I'm searching is what is the dealer network like around me? And you maybe not thinking about that stuff when you're a teenager, but that's a really important thing is having a good dealer that helps support you and a dealer that rides and knows what breaks and what to look for, whatever, So I think that's probably where I would head.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. I ask a lot of people this question when they would show up with something other than a Polaris at BBA because, we're Polaris boys there. They would say, they'd show up with a Do or a Cat, and I'd go, well, who's your dealer? Who's your best dealer? And they're like, oh, the Do dealer takes great care of me. So you kind of buy your dealer, essentially. If there's a close one that takes care of you, then it's like, that makes a lot of sense to go that way. So.
No, absolutely, man. I mean, you go make a $15,000 purchase, $15,000's $15,000, and you're going to be on, and these little engines are running at 8,000 to 9,000 RPM all day. Name anything else on the planet other than like a street bike that does that.
Yeah.
And we're hard on them. I'm hard on them. I know that. And I ride them hard and I have a blast and stuff. So it's, find a good dealer. And if you have a good relationship with them, I mean, I'm obviously a Polaris guy. I love Polaris and I'll keep supporting them as they've supported me. But, I'm not going to tell someone not to go buy something because, like I said, I'm here to promote the sport overall as well, not just, Polaris. So, I mean, Polaris is great, but yeah, support the guys that support you, especially with dealers.
Yep. We want people out there on the snow with us. So what have you been doing this summer? What's been going on in the beautiful Wyoming country?
Dude, so Wyoming is the least populated state. I don't know if you guys knew that. We have more cows than people, which is totally okay. It makes for phenomenal riding. So my father owns like a pretty big parts house, couple gas house stuff, and a big hydraulic thing and things like that. And so both my brothers don't work there anymore, and I'm the youngest. So this is the first year in 6 years I've worked there full time in the summer.
Damn.
Trying to, get more business savvy with him. He's been a business owner for a long time and, 6 days a week for the last 20 years. So I learned a lot on that side of things, trying to help him out, trying to make more money, trying to make my business better. So really trying to, do a lot of that. And, this whole crazy 2020 COVID thing has affected us a little bit, but not as much as a lot of other places. So it's been 100 miles an hour here all summer.
Yeah.
Even busier than normal, which is crazy. So
yeah, you can.
That's what I do, man. I work all summer so I can help still support the winter thing,
Yeah. It's
pretty nuts.
That is the testament is you work all summer to essentially kind of work all winter, but have a really kick-ass job in the winter. But people don't know that. So, and they don't see that. So it's cool that, it's like, hey, this is what we got to do. And that's what pretty much everybody's doing in our little industry, is trying to do something to be able to pull it off. That's kind of the hack.
Yeah, man, pretty much. I think it all comes back to that number one question. Hey, man, how do I get into the industry, or how do I do what you do? And once again, whatever it takes, you do whatever it takes. Could I very easily maybe not have a job all summer? Probably, but that's not the way I want to do things,
Yeah.
I want to keep progressing. I want to keep making strides. I want to keep re-upping. I want to make things better. So that also, I don't think money is everything by any means at all, but I see it as a tool to help me get the things that I need to do a better job for myself and for my clients, so
yeah.
So we work all summer.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, and now I'm in it too. I'm feeling that as well. I'm like, I got a camera that I don't know what to do with, but it's incredible. So I'm like trying to figure out how to use that thing. I'm like I'm calling David McKinney. Every filmer I know in the industry, I'm like, hey, how does this work? What do I need to do?
Hi, man.
Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to do a podcast. Let's figure that out. That'll be easy. Yeah. Well, it's not that easy. But it, you just reinvesting back into what we're doing. So it's exciting and cool, and glad to hear you're still on the grind. I always love stopping by Dad's shop when I'm in town there. So it's been a minute.
Man, it's changed quite a bit. He's added on and a couple more stories and blah blah blah. So it's just madness, dude. It's growing like crazy here, which is so-called great, but at the same time, it makes me a little bit sad because I like the small town vibe. But
yeah.
If people want to move here, then right on.
Yeah.
I love it here too.
Same. Yeah. And I feel that same way for what I am. I'm definitely like attached to my small town and my hometown. That's one of the tougher things about going to Colorado every winter, is just like 8 months away from like home and not wanting to like make the switch. You don't want to leave home. You want to still be able to go back. So that's why I'm excited to like be back home. And I know you've always loved home, and you always talk about how amazing it is. And from the times I've spent with you there, I'm like, damn, this is a cool spot. I can see how this is the spot to be for old SS here.
Yeah. I mean, it's I have a really good friend, and I've actually learned a lot from him. He owns a huge siding company in New York. His name's Craig Stackwitz, and we had a conversation, and he's like, dude, like, he really loves it. He has a sled in my shop. He has 2 sleds in my shop right now. He just flies up. And he's like, how, he lives in upstate New York, so it's pretty busy there and stuff like that. And he's like, dude, how do you live here? He's like, I get it that it's awesome. You love to be outside and stuff. But he's like, there's just not a lot going on. And I said, I don't know. Like, home is home. You can't really change that, and not everyone has that. And I'm very, very grateful that I do and have a family that supports me and things like that. And he's like, yeah, I understand. Home is home. So it's pretty cool to, growing up, I didn't know that everyone else didn't grow up in the mountains. This is all we ever had. And we get 15 feet of base. And I just didn't know that everywhere else wasn't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You thought everybody had 4 feet of snow at Christmas time.
Yeah, and rode refrigerators when they were 10 years old trying to chase their dad.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, gosh.
He's got 9 horsepower. I can't go anywhere.
Yeah, I'm stuck in the meadow again.
Yeah.
Spencer asked, what are your goals this season going forward? Are you just going to be same old, or anything special? Anything up your sleeve that you'd like to share?
Spencer, that's a really good question. I'm a firm believer in like writing your goals down, and I think it triggers something up here. I mean, like physically writing them, not writing them in the notes in your phone. Like, I think physically writing them on a piece of paper, and I don't know. I just think it like subconsciously registers with you. I'm sorry, I'm kind of straying a little bit, but I think that's really important. And I'll go back and look, and I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? And you kind of forget about them, but you're like, oh wow, I got 4 of my 5 things done I really wanted to do this year, or whatever, and you don't even realize it. But honestly, man, I think, we had a really good year last year with tours. I think some goals of mine, my filming stuff has been a little light lately, like my media stuff, my media presence, and things like that. Admittedly, I've really been focusing on the guys right in front of me, which I think I should be. But trying to do more of the media stuff, trying to do more of this kind of stuff, more personal things, so people maybe see who I am a little bit more outside of snowmobiling or riding or whatever. And honestly, dude, just being a better person all the way around. being a better friend, being a better boyfriend, being a better son. There's a lot of crazy things going on in the world right now. And I think, everyone tries to change everyone else, with whatever they believe in. But I think that, change starts with you. So so that's a big personal goal of mine, is me just being a better person all the way around. And that doesn't even really have to do with snowmobiling.
Right.
Yeah. But that's, and throughout the season, because things can get a little hectic, and sometimes I get a little stressed and things like that. And I gotta, some guys that work for me, and trying to be better in how I deal with problems and all this kind of stuff. So I know that's kind of a roundabout answer, but trying to be better at everything, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I honestly, Spencer, I haven't written down my goals yet, and I need to, and I don't really like you putting me on the spot.
Thanks, Spencer. Now he's going to write down his goals. So good job.
I will though. I will. And I'm going to share them. I'll figure it out, but I usually do. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. And I saw a quote the other day that was like, I was like, oh God. It said 6 months of consistent work can offset 2 years of just, non-consistent work or not working, just being consistent and chipping away. I think that's something that we, especially in today's day and age, you can relate to this, like trying to manage some social media just alone. Like that's a small example. You have Facebook, Instagram, you have email, you have text messages, you have phone calls, you have all of these things. And it can be kind of overwhelming with the tasks on what you want to do or get done, and just like chipping away. So like just trying to continue to be consistent with what you do is really interesting. And I've learned that starting to create videos. When I create videos consistently, it's amazing the results I get. But guess what? If you aren't creating consistency, people aren't looking for it. So that's why I'm excited to do this and I can have you on here as many times as we want. I can have you on here in a month. We can catch up again and kick it. So
next time you're going to see me with my phone. Hey man, I'm like running around the shop trying to get this done, doing that, yelling at Lars, blah, blah, blah. Yep. But I'll try and be present as much as possible.
Yeah. Hey, that's the world we live in. And we love it.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. We live in the world of information, and it's like Instagram. You scroll and you have new stuff in front of you every freaking 10th of a second or whatever. Like it's so fast, and we're so used to having so much. People want everything right now. It took me almost 11 years to get to where I am in the snowmobile industry, and I don't think you can get much more invested than I've been in something like this. And I'm still working full time all summer to make it better. So, speaking of goals, just being better and following through. It's so easy to see someone's grass a little bit greener than yours, and you hop the fence, and guess what? I wouldn't say you're back over at square one. You have a little bit more experience, but you got to see things through.
Yeah,
it took me 6 years to get a deal with Polaris. 6 years, and that's me riding and trying every year and being in 4 or 5 films every year. The films aren't as big anymore, but back then that's all we had. We didn't have any of this stuff, so it takes time.
It does. It takes a ton of time, and being accountable too for your actions on what you do, and holding yourself accountable. But then after you hold yourself accountable, understanding that's just your loss, right? Like it's nobody else's failure. If I screw up on a project and you judge me on the project, it's not your loss, it's mine. So who cares what somebody else has to say? It's your deal. But it goes back to just being accountable. I think is a huge thing that I've tried to get my head around.
Huge. I'm so glad you brought up that. You see all these quotes and you see all this motivation or whatever. And motivation's great, but motivation gets you so far. Like you said, perseverance and accountability and how much do you really want it and things like that. That's when you start to get somewhere. Everyone has this great idea. Oh my God, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, blah, blah, blah. And it just dies right at the idea. The next day, you don't even talk about it anymore. What are you doing to push forward? So say someone like Caleb, this is a really good example. Caleb knows what he wants, and he holds himself accountable with his diet, with his riding, with his, all that kind of stuff. He knows what he has to do, and it's paid off. Yeah. Like we said, that's a really good, say, modern day, thing to model yourself after. And it doesn't have to be snowmobiling, guys. It can be with business. It can be with your relationships. It can be with whatever, but hold yourself accountable. When you make a mistake, that's okay. We're human. We're all going to mess up. Just learn something from it.
For sure.
I mean, we hear that all the time, but it's crazy. It's still more relevant than ever.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, and it's being accountable and being consistent and just going after what you want. And then when somebody tells you no, just, pivoting and doing whatever you can. So did you get, were the end of your tours, were they put on pause because of COVID at all? Or were you wrapping up by then?
Yeah, dude. Unfortunately, speaking of when someone tells you no real quick, I'm sorry. And then we'll get on the tour thing. So guys, when you do what we do, you have to have a permit, and they are not easy to get. So I'll give you a really brief story real quick. I went in, wore a nice shirt, blah, 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 had this whole, I've been guiding for like 6-7 years, had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to do. I go in, give him all this stuff. I'm thinking, yeah, dude, this is going to be awesome. This will be great. He's like, no.
Yep.
I'm like, what? He didn't even really give me a reason. He's like, no. And then he followed up with there's already too many user days in this area and they're not getting used, so we don't have any room for or a need for any more. And I was like dead in my tracks. But that no gave me a lot of information of where there was available stuff. It took me like a week to find that. I'm like, oh my God, okay, what about this zone or this region? So no can sometimes bring you into the best spot of your life. So don't let a little no, keep stray you from your course. Keep going. Figure out a way.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. Okay. Speaking of this spring, right? We all got thrown for a loop. Very crazy, man. I pretty much never book April, and we always have snow, but I'm nervous, and our accessibility kind of goes to crap a little bit because our road's pretty clay and it gets really slick. And, with the big trailers and hauling 10 sleds, we're not hauling 2 sleds. We're hauling 10, 12, whatever, it's an operation. You know how it is.
Yeah.
So of course this year I'm like, sweet, we're having a great year. I'm going to book April. So I book April like stacked. I'm stoked. We're going to make a little bit more money. We're going to be able to put more into the shop. Like I'm pumped. Like this is going to be freaking awesome. About middle of March hits and we hear about this Rona thing and none of us are really taking it serious. None of us really care because we're out snowmobiling, having fun, blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, they start shutting down travel and this is becoming more of a problem. Things like that. And next thing you know, I lose like 5 weeks for the tours.
Yeah.
And I still have guys I have to pay for. I said, hey, I can keep you busy till the end of April or whatever. And so, I lost a lot of tours.
Bummer. Yeah.
Which totally freaking sucks.
Yeah.
But what do you do?
Exactly.
It's out of your control. What are you going to do?
Yep.
They shut down travel, the majority of our people are 5, 6, whatever, 100,000, geez, 1,000 miles away. So our guys couldn't really get here. And then, I eventually got a letter from the Forest Service that says, hey, you need to, abide by the CDC regulations, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, we already shut down at that point.
Yeah.
So it was tough, man. I think just like everyone else, I was a bit confused. I was a little bit frustrated. I just lost a boatload of money, and that's never really happened to me before. And I didn't know what to do. I was kind of in a really weird mental spot. I'm sure like a lot of other people. We're Americans, dude. This is a free place, and we're so used to being able to do whatever we want to do whenever we want to do it. And now we can't, or we're told we can't. So it was just weird, man. It was super, super weird for me, especially like free spirit, snowmobile rider, whatever, out in the mountains every day. So yeah, this spring was really, really, I wouldn't say it was like tough on me, but like mentally, it was weird. I didn't know what to do,
For sure.
I didn't have a lot of direction, I guess I would say.
Yeah. I could agree. I think I came out of the late winter, like early spring, summer with like, I had so much momentum and so many things I was getting ready to do. At that point, I already knew I wasn't going back to BBA. So I was just like, everything was in the works. I was going to be at Jackson filming like a episode and just pestering everybody. I was going to do all this other stuff and it all got canceled. So we went back to the drawing board, but like, what are you going to do? Exactly what you said. You're just you got to pivot and you got to figure it out. And
dude, what's crazy is I say this, and I'm sure a lot of other people can say you're into drift cars or you're into jumping horses, you're into grooming dogs. I don't know. But it's so weird to me how mountain riding is so similar to life in general.
Yeah.
Because when plan A just didn't work, just like this spring for a lot of us, the majority of us, whatever, what's your plan B? Now which way you headed? Before you get stuck, before you stop, before you whatever. So it's so weird how that, pertains to real life or to everyday life with so many things as mountain riding. And I try and relate it back to something that I know, so it took me a bit, man. It took me months and months and months. And I talked to a lot of buddies, and one of my really good friends lives in Florida, a business savvy guy. And he's like, this is your first time really like losing something that wasn't really in your control, because if I could have done something about it, it's different. But when you can't do much, okay. Try and put that on the back burner, get that out of your mind. How are we going to move forward? How are we going to move past the no?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
because
gnarly.
and that's one of them where it's out of your control, and everybody else has the same problem. So it's not like
exactly,
it's not like the people on the other side of the Cascades for me that like wildfires ripped through houses, burned houses to the ground. That didn't happen to everybody, but COVID happened to everybody. So when you complain about stuff like that, it's like that funny saying of like 80% of people don't care about your problems and the other 20 are glad you have them or something like that. So
yeah, dude, it's crazy with all that kind of stuff. And I really, really try hard to be like, I'm still a realistic person, but I try to be optimistic.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand the risk, or I understand this and this and this. And a lot of people get caught up on that. They, you see these sayings, whatever, what if it doesn't work? And I'm like, what if it does?
Yeah.
What if this does work? What if we can run 30 pounds of boost and it rips the track right off the sled? I don't know, but it's going to be sweet.
It's going to be on video and it's going to be awesome.
Like make the best of it. I don't know. Work 2 jobs. I don't know. Figure it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, being optimistic is huge. Being a realist obviously is important. You need to understand the risk with things, but crunch the numbers a few times and go get it.
Yeah. Hey, if the numbers pan out, then we're in the works there.
Yeah. I had to sell a bunch of my shoes I wasn't happy about, but it is what it is. Who buys used shoes, dude? It's weird.
No, yeah. Oh, you didn't have to sell your shoes? I don't know. Maybe you're into like collecting sneakers now. I don't know. Actually, I would guess that wouldn't be you, but that is a thriving market in the United States of America.
It is. I've never gotten into the Jordan game, but I think it's pretty solid.
Yep. People can do it, and they're into it, and I respect that. Anything that people are into.
Makes you happy. Go for it.
Yeah, of course. We got a question about razors here, or not razors, turbos here.
Turbos.
Oh, turbos. Everybody needs a turbo, don't we? But this question actually says, I think there's a lot of people out there who don't need them. That's what my experience is. Ride a turbo is like 1,000. Wait, this doesn't make any sense. Riding a turbo is like 1,000 levels higher. What? I think what our good friend over here is trying to get at is riding a turbo is actually much harder than riding a stock sled in certain ways. And like, Absolutely. Does everybody need to ride them? What's kind of the outlook on that? And
we all love horsepower. We all think it's cool. There's like an old Eleanor Roosevelt quote that's talking about America's all about hot, nasty speed. Because it's true, dude. We all love that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter if it's go-karts or monster trucks or snowmobiles. So turbos are cool. Are they fun? Absolutely. Do they expose every single weakness you've ever had in your entire life? Absolutely. They get faster throughout the day. 2 reasons. Number 1, you're getting more and more tired. Okay. Number 2, you're burning fuel. So you have 5 gallons less in the tank than you did before. Now the sled's lighter, and now it's faster, and you're slower.
Yeah.
And they are very, very gnarly. I don't think it's like one of those things, man. You strap yourself into one of these sports cars, you're strapped in. You don't have to hold on. And I think that's something that people, maybe it's ego, I don't know what it is, that people don't really take into consideration, that you have to hold on to it all day. And it's fun to go ride some wheelies, it's fun to this, it's fun to that, but like to really ride a turbo all day, like it's a lot of work, man. And people talk about, I get this all the time. How much boost do you run? And I said, 5 pounds. They're like, what? 5 pounds? I'm on 17.
You're a loser. 5 pounds? What the hell?
Yeah, 5 pounds? What the hell, man? I'm like, dude, okay, cool. I'm like, you're not out here running tours every day, riding them in the mountains every day, riding them in deep snow when they pull even harder. And it's fun, man. You know, if you want to run 17 pounds of boost, be my guest. If that's what makes you happy, that's great. But to really ride one all day, it's a lot of work. And it's tough, man. Like I said, I don't know if it's for everyone, but I think it's cool for everyone to really get on one. And what turbos are really built for. Turbos, yeah, like say there's 6 inches of power or 6 inches of fresh, and there's a really good base. They're not going to make that big of a difference. You're going to go up the hill twice as fast. People are like, man, I don't really see it, which is fine. And then there's 3-4 feet of powder, which doesn't happen very often, granted. Yeah. And a stalker can't even get to the hill. And a turbo literally makes its own atmosphere, and it's just like gone.
Yeah, it's like it hovers itself, and it is building speed with the skis 4 feet off the ground, just hauling. Yeah,
I've been riding them a lot since fall of 2009, so quite a while. Yeah, and they still do things every day. And I think anyone that's spent a lot of time on a turbo and really takes them serious can relate to this. But they'll still do things that don't make any sense to me. The track speed is, I don't know, 90 miles an hour, and a stalker's maybe 40.
Yep.
So it is insane. And people that haven't ridden them, and we get this all the time with our tours, people are like, I want to ride the turbo, and I have 5 guys. I'm like, cool, we'll take 1. They're like, what? You take all of them. I'm like, dude, you're going to be so cross-eyed at 11 o'clock because you're so tired, you're going to feel like you're on a different planet.
Yeah. We're not going to have 5 turbos left if we take all 5.
Yeah, let me help you, bro. Let me help you, and if you feel like you want to ride it all day, then that's fine. But I want you to get the most out of your day. Not saying you can on a turbo, but you have to have respect for them for what they really are. Yeah. I mean, they're gnarly.
They are.
They still scare me. I mean, if you don't have respect for them, they'll buy you for sure.
They will.
Me before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like you said, they expose your weaknesses just as much as they get you out of that situation. They expose also and get you back into that situation.
Now you're just 100 feet higher on the hill, and your buddies can't get to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that question was from 631 Films, and he says, sorry, from Norway. I appreciate that you're from Norway listening to Sahen and I talk here. So
you're not say sorry at all, bro. Turbos are sick, but like, dude, if I lived in Norway, the stock sleds freaking rip there. When I was there a couple years ago in Sweden, I mean, I just related to the first thing I can think of, and a stalker pulls 72 grams of weight. I'm all, this is insane. Just stock for stock, like not changing helixes, not changing anything. I'm like, this thing builds freaking awesome power, dude. Ride this. This thing is sick, so.
Johan, when I went to Sweden, had that thing snapping so hard. He's like, I blow a lot of belts. I'm like, yeah, your clutching is so aggressive. Like, I don't know what he was. He had these special weights, and I'm like, this is why you can ride wheelies and do all the stuff he does there. But it is, that's for sure. Like down there at that elevation, those sleds are so sick.
I always tease McKinney, and I don't know if he's watching, and I'm sorry, but he's like, dude, back at my house. And I'm like, McKinney, you tell me this every 15 minutes. I understand. Okay? I'm sorry I live where I live. Like, I don't know what you want me to say.
Yeah.
So, guys, the main reason why we ride turbos is, I'm sure a lot of you know this, some of you don't. As you go up in elevation, there is, I would say, less dense, or it's thinner, or whatever you want to call it. And we don't build the power you guys build, stock for stock. So we add things so we can get back to what you already get out of stock. So that's the biggest reason. And they're freaking cool and they're fun.
Yeah.
And they make sweet noises.
Yeah, they make sweet noises. They go fast. All those things.
Yeah, exactly.
We're at an hour here, but if you want to go for a little bit more, I'm more than happy. I got one interesting question that Brandon's asking. He says, "What about?" Dude,
I got a little bit of time.
Yeah. He says, "What about NOS kits on a sled? Is that still a thing?" So that was before. I never rode a nitrous kit, or I never even touched one. But did you ride them at all?
I rode them a tiny bit.
That was even before you a little bit, huh? When you were building mods.
Brant still had a couple sleds when I was there the very, very first year I went there, before I worked for him, he had a couple sleds that had nitrous, but that's when turbos were starting to get really, really big. And they were starting to become, a lot more friendly with fuel mapping and things like that. Guys, building a turbo is not the hard thing. It's the fuel mapping and the fuel curve and stuff is what people struggle with. But the nitrous thing, I think the biggest thing with nitrous is it's still super effective, but it's very unstable, obviously, and especially where we have clutches. We either have to clutch for the nitrous or you clutch not having the nitrous. So do you clutch to run? I'm just going to relate to players because that's what we know. Are you going to clutch it to run 8100 and then it's 85 on the nitrous? Or do you clutch it to run 84 and then it's running 88 on the nitrous? So I think that's kind of the tough thing. And it's not as popular anymore. So where are you going to get it? Like, is it readily accessible? Like, if it is where you live, maybe give it a shot. But I don't really know of anyone maybe building kits or building setups for them anymore to make it, easily accessible.
For sure. Yeah.
So, that's my take on it. People still use it on cars and drag cars and things like that all the time. They have like 2, 3, 4 stage nitrous systems, but there's a bigger market for that.
Yeah. And it's different application. The only thing I've heard is insane stories about nitrous sleds back in the day. Just like some of the stuff that they could do. And yeah,
I've heard of guys literally blowing pipes off.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that. I don't know how the old NOS kits and stuff work, but I think if you press the button, there's still power to it or whatever. I've heard of stories of guys leaning on their button and it fills the airbox and they go to start it and literally blows the pipes right off the engine.
Jeez.
Which is insane. I mean, I flatlanded before I'm blowing the pipes off the engine and destroyed my face. But so I don't know, man. That might be a question for guys like Barant and stuff. I mean, he probably went through freaking 3 bottles a day and filed his the piston rings so they could take a little bit more. I mean, he just ran more nitrous than I probably have fuel through a sled,
I'll be asking him about nitrous when I get him on here, because it's funny. I was at the ears with him, and we were on the back side of the ears, the dark side, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I climbed that on a cat," and I'm like, "Dude, there's no way we're going up that today." And I actually, so this is,
I know exactly where you're talking.
Yeah, the spots.
Just past Pat's Bowl.
Yep.
Just past Pat's Bowl on that side hill through the trees. I know exactly where you're talking. Yeah.
So you'll like this quick story. I was with Pulsifer on the backside there, and there's a little spot that you climbed out of. It might have been Dragon Days, long time ago. And Kyle's like, "I'm going up that." I'm like, "There's no way you're going up that, dude." Because it has it's steep. A, it's steep as shit. And B, there's a head wall halfway up it that there's no way you're going to keep speed to get up it, And he's like, "I'm doing it. Get the camera out." And he goes up it, loses all his speed. He tomahawks down the hill. I'm like, "Oh my God, I feel like this is Sahen 10 years ago right here."
Dude. Honestly, the amount of peer pressure that Chris put me through, which I'm still thankful for today because it definitely helped me with a lot of things. But I'm like, dude, who are you? Like, here I am, this 19-year-old kid, just stoked to even be alive. And he's like, dude, you should try this. He's like amps me up like you do to your buddies.
Yeah.
And he knows I'm gonna fail, and then sometimes I miraculously make it. And he's like, oh wow. And I'm like, oh my God, I could tell you so many stories, man. Oh my God.
Yeah.
A lot of fun times, though. I don't regret any of it. I've wrecked more snowmobiles than people would probably even own, but I just wasn't afraid. I would go to Brant's broke, and I would come back even broker, working 7 days a week because I wasn't afraid to break stuff. I guess I don't know. I wanted to progress.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy some of that stuff, man. Even here, I'm like, and then you make it, but that's why we ride. You're like, this was freaking nuts, and it never looks the same ever. Yeah. We all know that, but I guess that's why we ride in the first place, is how sick of stuff you can still do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's certainly changed on what is considered sick. People aren't like, "Oh, that was a sick shoot." We're not even talking about that anymore. We're talking about, re-entries off rocks and all sorts of crazy stuff like that.
Dude, all sorts of stuff. You know what really gets me these days? I mean, we don't climb a lot of big stuff anymore. We ride a lot of ravines and stuff here, and a lot of it's, say, 100 feet tall, but it's just disgustingly steep, and it makes no sense at all to even try and go up there. But when you make it, even though you got stuck 4 times, you're like, that was so freaking cool.
Yeah
you could be 100 yards off the trail and you just had the best day of your life.
Yeah, it's and you're just pogoing from your buddies like you go like 20 feet further and then you get kind of hung up. You got to turn out and make another poke. And then you get 20 feet further and it's just like that for hours. And, you know, I call them podium rides when we're with like a number of guys. If you don't leave, if you're not one of the first 3 guys leaving to go up to the top, you're so screwed because they have left an absolute, looks like a war zone out there. There's bomb holes everywhere. There's people. They're stuck. You're trying to run. You're running them over. All sorts of stuff.
And here's the thing, like I'm pretty lucky because I'm in the front all the time now.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I still like riding in the back, and it's a huge challenge. And you have to learn how to ride ruts. And if you don't know what we're talking about, go watch any of the school movies from like 6, 8, 10 years ago, and you'll learn about that stuff. But dude, when I would ride with Brant, he would take like, I mean, aggressive lines. But I'm like, dude, you had a really good line, and here I am dealing with this 4-foot trench. You know, or whatever. So it took a lot of time to learn how to ride in that stuff. And now it's even gnarlier for the second guy or the third guy or whatever. And they're like, yeah, pick your own line. But I'm like, this is the line. Yeah. This is the line. So,
right. Well, and then if you go pick your own line and you do make it to the top, all of a sudden you took the easy line. So then you don't win there. But then, and then if you follow him track for track, you're a track poacher. So actually you can't win this battle.
That guy, he's a lot of fun though. He's probably one of still very few people that I go ride with. I mean, I ride with a lot of good guys and I have a lot of buddies that rip, that ride. We can go out and have fun all day, but he's still one of the very few people I can count on one hand that like seriously challenge me and wonder why I'm even out here. I'm like, why the hell am I even doing this? This makes no sense. Or you get to the top and I don't know how many times he'd go down and take a bunch of the snow. And I'm like, oh my God, thank God I'm on his sled because I already wrecked mine this week.
Yeah, going down, that's what people don't understand is half the time that's the scariest part. It's just a slip and slide to trees.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, if you're riding in the spring and you're following somebody, you're going downhill, just aim for the small trees because you're going to hit one. Just aim for the small ones because sometimes you put it on the side and people don't understand. You go faster.
Yeah, you do.
The cable on the elevator just broke and now you're going faster. You're like, oh my God.
And you got no direction. You're just along for the ride.
Dude, I remember when the Axis first came out, I was out with Marty Sampson. Marty Sampson, right? Yeah. And he's the head of their MK team. And I'm taking dealers out riding. Super fun. And we have the bras on the sleds, you know, so people can't see them or whatever. And he's like, hey, go push this thing really, really hard. This is my favorite thing ever. Go push this thing really hard, but you can't wreck it. I'm like, oh, okay. That's pretty contradicting, but I'll give it my best shot. I will never forget this as long as I live. I like end up in this out of control like elevator. Oh my God, trying to save my life and the sled. And the bra comes off the sled and it's on top of my head and I can't see a damn thing. And I'm going down this hill at Mach 90, dude. I don't know where I am. I don't know who I am. I don't know what planet I'm on. All I know is I'm hauling ass down the hill on a sled that doesn't exist that I can't wreck. And I end up, and I go over this log and it rolls and whatever. I end up down in this little wallow. And Marty's a pretty good rider. And I get this shit off my head, and there's Marty. He's like, did you scratch it? I'm like, oh, my God. Dude, it's just insane. Insane.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh, dude. That's so classic. Oh, God.
Riding the new sleds is super, super fun. I have wrecked them before, but they are not happy.
Yeah.
Not happy. Because there's 6 of them in the world. They're hand-built. There's no molds. There's no, it's gnarly.
Yeah, it's
so cool.
It's what people don't, they're like, oh, I would like to ride that. I'm like, I don't know if you would, because if you can't screw it up. It's a tricky thing.
If you don't like riding your buddy's sled because you're afraid you're going to wreck it, you definitely don't want to ride a hand-built sled that costs, I don't know how much one costs, probably 10 times what a normal sled costs.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of pressure, but you're excited at the same time. Like, dude, this thing's sick. I want to go see what it can do. You know, so you purposely put it in like stupid situations.
Yeah.
But
you're like, oh, fun. I know I'd be screwed up here on an old sled. And what's the verdict on the new guy? Yeah.
And maybe that takes a special kind of person. You're like, where's the stupidest crap I can go find and go put this sled through?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're over an hour. Appreciate the time, Sahen, and hopefully we can get you back on, and hopefully we get some traction with this show. We've had around 50 people just consistent the whole time.
Sweet, dude. That's awesome, man.
It's always, a spike in the beginning is one thing, but to have consistency is great. So appreciate that. Appreciate you being on here. And for anybody watching who's like not really familiar with Sahen, but if you're not where you've been under a rock for a long time, apparently, you can go follow him on Instagram. He runs tours in beautiful Wyoming, SS Freeride. Yeah, he has a website and the whole nine. Anything else you'd like to tell the people out there, Sahen?
I don't know, man. Just keep a positive attitude. We're all kind of in this weird thing together, and I don't really want to touch on that much because we already know what's going on. And just worry about what you can control, man. Go out there, have fun, ride sleds, do whatever. Like, just live life. Go out, have fun, and enjoy what you like to enjoy. And don't let other people stick a finger in you and tell you you're no good. Just go out and do your thing.
Boom. Love it. Couldn't have said it better. Thank you, dude.
Yeah.
I will talk to you very soon.
Right on, man. Sounds good.
All right. We'll see ya.
See ya.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining. It's pretty good. So far, so good. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please be subscribed. Look for the Mountains Project live videos that will turn into podcasts regularly. It is the idea. So very excited to get this thing going. And yeah, let me know what you think. And I appreciate you hanging in there through all of the interesting kind of things I got going on here. Trying to figure it out has been a heck of a move on this thing. So it has been tricky for sure. I appreciate you guys being in here. And yeah, leave a comment. Let me know how it can be better. I have to go back and rewatch it now and see if it worked and how well it worked. So appreciate you guys hanging in here. And we had 50 in the whole time, so I think that's pretty good. Pretty good for episode 1 with my good friend Sahen Skinner. And hit that subscribe button. We're really close to 15,000. So maybe I'll give something away here because it's really close. We're within 100. So I'll see you guys next time. And that's all I got. Peace.